Hello, Goldma viewers. Welcome again. We have so much to discuss today, and today we're just going to dive into it. Before we do, just to let you know who we have on our panel today, starting from Mr. Ruben, we also have Mr. Anthony and Mr. J. Finally, I'm Nyarai, and we're going to dive straight into it. So today what we want to do is try and explain what an ICO is, because it's come to a realization that a lot of people have heard about ICOs. Some are even investing in ICOs without the full knowledge of what it really is. And most people always question, what is the point? So I will start with you, Mr. J. What is an ICO?
ICO is an initial coin offering. That is what it stands for. And very simply, it is a fundraising mechanism.
Okay.
And beyond that, there are different methods by which people use to get or basically trade a token for either Bitcoin, Ethereum, or some other blockchain platform or token. Okay. So basically that's what it is.
Okay.
From my perspective.
All right. From my perspective, an ICO is a crowdfunding initiative. And I think that's what it is to me. Anthony?
So I would agree. It's just another way of crowdfunding using blockchain technology and having the ability to get access to those funds immediately. I don't know, have you ever used GoFundMe? And they say once you reach that cap, that's when you'll only get it. Plus they also take a percentage, which in creating your own ICO, you wouldn't have any of that. I mean, the costs are minimum. So I think it's a great solution to crowdfunding, and it's a great adaptation of the cryptocurrency.
Yeah. That's an important thing, like what you mentioned there. I have a favorite word of mine: democratization. I think we have to bring back power to individuals, and that's what ICOs do, because they're far less regulatory hoops than if you were to compare it to traditional fundraising for corporations, which is an initial public offering, an IPO. That is much more complex, and it brings in some of what you're saying as well, that like, okay, what are the conditions of getting access to that funding and all of that stuff. So an ICO is much simpler, much more direct, and I think you have a closer connection with the people who invest in you. That's another thing that comes up in ICOs.
Absolutely.
Do you guys also think ICOs are leveling the playing field in terms of investment opportunities? Because I might not necessarily have $1 million to invest in a major company, but if I have 5,000, I can invest it in an ICO. Do you think that gives opportunities to small-time investors?
Definitely. Because you don't even need 5,000. I mean, the low threshold, most ICOs want one, or they either want 0.1 Ethereum. That's it. That's their threshold in terms of what you need to initially invest. So that, to me, just opens up access to so many more people. And then with respect to most IPOs are only available to accredited investors. That's it. You wouldn't even know, because they are not allowed to advertise and market that IPO. So you would have to be in some type of small community, and you would have to be an accredited investor, which means you made some crazy annual amount, and you would need someone to verify that you made that amount. You know, so, and who knows what that amount? Some people say it's 200,000. Some people say it's 250,000. Some people say it's $1 million. It just depends. But again, the threshold is so high with an IPO compared to an ICO, where the threshold is much lower in terms of accessing it with monetary currency.
Okay. Interesting perspectives. Any thoughts, guys?
So I think basically what Mr. Jenkins is saying is, your buy-in is way less. And you're getting, so like what I like with the Goldma is that you're getting a return. So buying shares in a company, as you said, you need to have a massive amount of money, some of them. But with Goldma, you can buy in with minimal amount, and you'll still get a portion of that net profit at the end of the year, 20%, which I think is great. You know, I mean, it's really exciting to be able to say, well, you know, I've got $100, as little as $100, but I'm still going to get 20% of that net profit at the end of the year. I think that's a fantastic model in itself.
Let's talk a little bit about just how ICOs are booming right now and where ICOs are big. I've noticed that ICOs are big in Asia and also in Russia. What do you guys think? Like, what makes ICOs prevalent in other regions of the world and other regions of the world it's not so big? Is it that other continents or areas are just lagging behind, or could it be that they're still yet to adopt this new way of acquiring investment? Mr. Ruben?
You know, I was going to defer to you, actually.
Were you?
Yeah, but I on the surface value, I don't want to get too much into detail. I'm sure there are people who could do that better than I can. But the first thing is, obviously, when something new comes, not everyone is going to adopt it at the same time. This is just nature of markets, right? Some people are very early in, and some people come in a little bit later.
Yeah.
And that has other conditions that, as I said, I think someone can speak better to that.
Well, definitely, it's the mindset and the collective consciousness of those people in that particular region. As you know, in America, manufacturing is declining, whereas in Asia, manufacturing is actually increasing. And that is due to the collective consciousness of how they approach and what do they particularly value. In America, they have a culture that they value ideas, and there's probably a little bit less value in manufacturing and implementing those ideas. You know, us Americans, we're very keen to think of ideas, but generalizing, just simply generalizing, the manufacturing aspect is a bit expensive because, you know, we want rights, we have labor unions, you know, we want off time.
Don't get yourself in trouble now.
It's true. We want a lot. We have a lot of demands. Versus in Asia, there's quite a bit of the iron fist that tells you, you know, these demands that you have, this is what you're going to get, you know. And so I think it has to do, again, with the collective consciousness and what is implemented in that particular culture. And that's why you would also compare that to what happens in the ICO. The ICO, people think about opportunities, and there's not so much of the threshold of people trying to hold you back. Although in China, they're trying to hold you back. North Korea, of course, Singapore, there's a lot of regulation in those places.
Yeah.
Yet people are looking for a way out. They're looking for
still
a way out. And they're looking and they're trying to implement it.
It's quite interesting. I like what you're saying about people in Asia and how they're still willing to just defy, you know, all refrains to still get involved. And I want to pose another question to you guys. Do you think also that ICOs are on the rise right now because people are falling in love with the idea of digital assets? Since, you know, the future is practically looking virtual right now, like everything's just going to be virtual.
Yeah, I think that there's a combination of that and the fact of the returns. I think, you know, in the traditional stock exchanges, you don't get the level of returns. They're not typical. Whereas in the digital space, like with cryptocurrencies, you're seeing phenomenal returns.
Yeah,
Absolutely, but also, you know, it's this emphasis on blockchain, the hype about the blockchain.
Yeah.
I mean, everywhere you go, you're reading that blockchain, or you're seeing that the blockchain and the amount of investment going into blockchain. You know, I think that's also driving it a bit. You know, trying to maintain your future, get your future in.
Yeah.
I think that's also driving it.
Okay. Now we want to bring it a little bit home. Like, we want to bring it closer to home here in Africa. cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, and the ICO phenomenon. Those are things that are not yet very common and mainstream. Why do you think that is?
Knowledge, basically. I think people just don't. You don't have access to mainstream media. So learning about Bitcoin, learning how to get into Bitcoin. Also, here in Zimbabwe, we've got a cash crisis. So we can't actually invest into any of these things. But I think as it progresses, as we go on, I think it will be mainstream, because a lot of our problems will be answered by this technology.
Absolutely.
I think that's really exciting. In general.
I just wanted to chime in on that one, that while it's true that perhaps it's not yet mainstream, we also have to take note of where the technology has been implemented at a high level. The South African Reserve Bank actually conducted a trial where they used, I'm not sure if it was a live test or a mimicking the real-time gross settlement system of South Africa, so the interbank market, and they trialed blockchain and see how well it would perform. So I think there are people who are catching up, and they're seeing the value of blockchain technology specifically.
Disposable income and access and the information adoption is a bit slower here. However, the desire is a bit higher.
Yeah.
Okay? People are looking for access to opportunities. They're looking for it. However, they're stifled by things like cash crisis, not having your own currency.
Yeah.
And here's the part where I'm going to kind of go to a different route here.
Yeah.
There are other forces that I must speak to if I'm going to be very honest and brutally honest here.
Okay.
There really isn't a motivation of the higher-ups for there to be a big transfer of wealth, because that's what's happening worldwide. Blockchain technology is providing a huge transfer of wealth from those who are considered in the elite class to from those now who are in the lower classes, who are the what we call technocrats or the educated technical people. They typically are working for the elite. But blockchain technology is now transferring that wealth from the elite to the class of people who are the what we call technocrats or people who are technically inclined. And that is causing problems because when there's wealth, there is influence. And those people who are technically inclined don't typically share the same thought processes regarding what exactly is value or what exactly is something that is a meaningful action. They're not. And that's something that we really need to talk about here. Is that if I'm a person of another age group, I'm a person that maybe I served and I'm in the 60s, I'm in the 70s, and I'm controlling things. My value system is not the same as someone my age or his age, your age. You have a different value system.
It's like you're in my mind right now, because that's the next thing that I was going to talk about.
And that's why there is that push or not saying, no, we're going to hold people where they are. Let's keep things as they are, because now that secures my power. That secures my authority. And at the end of the day, most elite or most governments want to maintain, they're in place to ensure that what is stays. That's the nature of government, is the protection of the state. All right.
Yeah, Mr. J likes, skating on the dangerous side. But you brought up something that I was actually thinking about. It seems like people of an older generation, like baby boomers and going a little back, maybe up until people that were born in the mid-80s, are not as open to the whole universe of ICOs. And do you think it's because there's a generational gap? Are millennials much more open to things that are technologically advanced?
So I think so. I think again, they don't understand it. They don't understand technology as well as millennials do, and I think that's also one of the things. No one can stop learning.
Yeah.
So I think everyone should aspire to learn about the blockchain and how they can use it. Much. And I think that's one of the main things. But I do agree that it is
But all young people are starting with it. I think it's going to be inescapable for all people. Like all of these institutions are going to have to catch up, because, well, firstly, if you look at the amount of patents being coming out that have something to do with blockchain, big institutions are playing. They're really, really active there. On the government side of things, of course, I mean, what parliamentary debate or meaningful debate can you have without, financial technology, financial revolutions happening in the world? That's going to happen. The other thing that I think about is, this is a random thing, user experience. Yeah. Right? For a lot of people, those addresses, they look daunting. It's all sorts of weird characters arranged in, like, it doesn't make any sense. So perhaps there is that in terms of, I'm fairly young, I can learn it quickly. But if I were to take it to my father who's almost 70, he's just going to look at it and he won't get it, and that's it. He's just not going to, unless something else forces him to be on it, he might not take any active interest, even though it serves him.
Okay.
So there's an argument to be made about user experience. Maybe.
So basically, you're saying that if there was a way to simplify that, to cater for different demographics and different age groups, then that would be...
Yeah, and I've said it before that part of the work that we have is we speak very well to technically minded people. We have to express it in a language that's intelligible to not so technically minded people. I think that's where it's going to tip, and that's where where the revolution is really going to pick up steam.
Basically making the application intuitive towards everybody.
Exactly.
All ages. I think yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to change the narrative, because most of the people that I talk to about cryptocurrency or just ICOs and stuff, the first thing they say is, "Oh, those scams." That's the first thing that comes to mind. And it seems like there's already a dominant ideology out there about initial coin offerings, and we need to try and change that. But the question is how? Do you guys have any ideas about that?
I think one of the major things about ICOs is that it actually plays to the theory of free market economy. And the more liberal thought and the more people offer opportunity for you to implement your thoughts, some type of framework, the more ideals will come that will actually require or at least have market adoption. And I think it's up to us to just have a framework, have that framework of blockchain technology available, and not say, oh no, we can't have blockchain technology here, or we can't have it there. You have to allow it to mature, and the ideals will come.
Yeah.
I have 100% faith that if you have the framework, people will make the ideas, and that's what I look at. I look at saying, just let it be free, so people can make ideas. Give it time to mature, because my idea that I have may influence someone, and it may stifle them. They might, I want them to be free to come up with their own ideas about what is required.
We'd love to continue with this discussion. We could go on and on, right? Like about ICOs, and because I think everybody on this panel is pretty much immersed in that universe. Well, till next time, let us know what you think in the comment section below. We'd love to know what you think. We will respond, and bye for now.